It was supposed to be just another celebrity interview. A few laughs, a couple of light jabs, and a plug for the next big blockbuster. But what unfolded on live television left millions speechless. Chris Hemsworth, Hollywood's golden boy, the charismatic thunder god who rarely stirs controversy. But on that morning, on the set of The View, everything changed. The View, a stage known not just for opinions, but for explosions. A place where politics and personality collide, and not everyone makes it out unscathed. Hemsworth walked in with charm. He left, escorted out. No one saw it coming, not the audience, not the producers, not even Hemsworth himself. What triggered the chaos? Was it a political jab, a personal line crossed, or something deeper, something that had been building long before the cameras rolled? We've gathered exclusive behind-the-scenes footage, insider testimony, and the full, unfiltered timeline that led to the most jaw-dropping exit in daytime TV this year. Why was Chris Hemsworth really ejected from The View? And what does it reveal about the fine line between celebrity and ideology in modern media? Stay with us. You're about to see and hear everything they didn't want you to. Before the explosion, there was calm. Chris Hemsworth had just wrapped a whirlwind press tour. His latest film, an ambitious, emotionally charged drama, was being hailed as his most mature performance to date. He wasn't there to stir the pot. He was there to sell a story. But the story that unfolded wasn't from the movie. It was from the moment he sat down on The View. The View, daytime television's most volatile roundtable, equal parts morning chat and ideological battlefield. With a rotating panel of sharp tongues, strong opinions, and razor-wire tension, the show has become a cultural flashpoint. 1 minute it's pop culture fluff, next it's war. Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny hosting, Sara Inés, Ana Navarro. Titans of talk, each with their own triggers, each with a different threshold for dissent. Welcome to The View, Joy began, flashing her signature smirk as the applause rang out. We've got Thor in the house today, Whoopi chuckled. Let's see if he can handle some real thunder. Chris laughed nervously. I'll do my best, he said. But I didn't bring the hammer. The energy was light, polite. For a moment it seemed like just another segment, but behind the scenes, tension simmered. Producers whispered, topics shuffled. Something unexpected had made its way onto the note cards. Days before the taping, Hemsworth had made a comment during a podcast interview. It was offhand, maybe even sarcastic, but it touched a nerve, a political nerve, something about gender roles, parenting, the changing expectations of modern men. He didn't mean to start a fire, but fire once sparked, finds oxygen fast, and The View, well, it's nothing if not flammable. Chris, I want to go back to something you said recently, Sunny began, her tone razor sharp. You mentioned traditional masculinity, that raising boys like boys wasn't something to be ashamed of. In this climate, some might call that problematic. The smile faded from Hemsworth's face. I don't think celebrating strength and responsibility is ever problematic, he said, voice steady, but tight. It's not about shutting anyone down. It's about remembering who we are, too. The air in the studio shifted. Applause scattered, unsure. The tone had turned, and from that moment, there was no going back. But the pressure had been mounting long before that morning. Political tension, cultural division, and a media machine hungry for the next viral clash. Was Hemsworth ambushed? Or did he walk into the lion's den willingly? Was it a misunderstanding? Or a calculated move? What started as promo would soon spiral into confrontation, accusation, and, eventually, ejection. This wasn't just a celebrity interview. It was a collision between Hollywood charm and daytime fury, and the world was about to witness it live. The temperature in the studio had shifted. What was meant to be a soft segment had veered hard into uncomfortable territory. Chris Hemsworth, still seated center stage, looked composed, but his eyes had narrowed. The air buzzed with that unmistakable hum. Something was about to break. Joy Behar leaned forward, voice measured, but edged with accusation. So you're saying men are under attack? That's a narrative we've heard before from people with a very specific agenda. Chris tilted his head, forcing a smile. I'm saying the conversation needs balance, not dominance. I grew up in a home where strength wasn't about control, it was about responsibility. If we forget that, we lose something. Ana Navarro jumped in. And what exactly do we lose? Power. Privilege. Because let me tell you, Chris, women, queer people of color, we've spent decades just trying to be heard. Forgive us if we're not eager to go back. It wasn't a debate anymore, it was a trial. And Hemsworth had become the defendant. Behind the cameras, producers signaled timing was off. The teleprompter stalled. This was no longer the segment anyone planned. The live audience sat frozen, caught between admiration and unease. Whoopi tried to pull it back. "Let's not turn this into a shouting match," she said. "Chris, do you feel misunderstood here?" "I feel like I'm not allowed to speak honestly," Hemsworth replied, his voice sharpening. "And maybe that's the point." A murmur rippled through the studio. The tension was no longer implied, it was suffocating. Sonny Hostin didn't blink. Maybe honesty isn't the same thing as truth, and just because something feels traditional doesn't mean it's right. Chris leaned in. And just because something is new doesn't mean it's better. Boom, there it was. The audience gasped. Joy looked stunned. Anna shook her head, scribbling something on a notepad. You could feel the moment fracture. The line had been crossed not necessarily in words, but in tone, in challenge, in the way Hemsworth refused to retreat. It was bold, it was defiant, and it was live. Cameras kept rolling. The floor director whispered into his mic. A backstage coordinator moved toward the wings. The energy behind the scenes controlled panic. Back on set, Chris tried to reset. "I didn't come here to argue. I came here to talk about the film, about redemption, about family, but it feels like I'm being put on trial because of who I am." Joy, cold now, replied, "No one's putting you on trial, Chris. We're just asking questions. If that's uncomfortable, maybe it should be." His jaw clenched. "Or maybe we've all forgotten how to listen." That line landed like a gavel, final heavy, then an audible beep in the crew's headset. A decision was made. The director's voice, calm but firm. "Asterisk, we need to cut, now." Asterisk, but the segment didn't end. Instead, one of the floor producers approached the stage, quietly speaking to the moderator. Whoopi nodded, her face unreadable. Then she turned to Hemsworth, live on air. "We're going to take a break," she said. "Chris, thank you for being here today. We're going to wrap early." There was no applause, no closing smiles, just silence. Chris stood up slowly, visibly stunned. "That's it?" he asked. Joy didn't respond. Anna avoided eye contact. The camera cut widened. Just before the feed went to commercial, viewers saw Chris Hemsworth walk off set, followed by a member of the security team. He wasn't just dismissed, he was escorted. The internet erupted within minutes. Clips spread like wildfire. Headlines hit social media before the credits even rolled. Chris Hemsworth clashes with The View hosts in heated debate. Thor gets thundered out, ejected live and unfiltered. What had started as a conversation had spiraled into a moment of cultural reckoning. A superstar confronted by an institution. A man used to adoration, now facing interrogation. This was only the beginning, that it didn't feel real at first. For a moment, even Chris Hemsworth seemed frozen, as if unsure whether this was still part of the performance. But it wasn't. This was live television, and he had just been removed. Mid-broadcast. What audiences didn't see in those final seconds was the flurry of movement behind the scenes. Producers on headsets, segment directors pointing to countdown clocks, legal advisors murmuring into earpieces. ABC knew what was happening and they knew the stakes. As the cameras cut to commercial, the studio lights dimmed, the applause sign stayed dark, and in that eerie silence, Chris turned to Whoopi. "This is how it ends?" he asked, low and stunned. She didn't answer. The floor manager, clipboard clutched to his chest, gestured toward the exit. "Chris, this way please." Security didn't grab him, they didn't need to. But they followed close silent shadows, making sure the moment stayed clean. Controlled, contained. Chris paused just before the exit curtain, turned back to the stage. The co-hosts were already debriefing in whispers, papers rustling, tension leaking off them like steam. He shook his head. "You invited me here," he said, "and now I'm the villain." Anna didn't even look up. "You played the part," she muttered, and with that he was gone. The hallway backstage was narrow and dim. Cameras weren't allowed there, but that didn't stop phones from recording. A crew intern caught it all. Hemsworth pacing in silence, one hand running through his hair, the other clenched in a fist. "Unbelievable," he muttered, an asterisk, 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 unbelievable. 10 minutes later, he was in a black SUV already speeding toward Midtown. But outside the studio, the chaos had just begun. Inside the View's control room, panic set in. "What are we airing next segment?" Cut the Hemsworth recap. "Run the pre-tape with the chef. Do we release a statement or wait for his team by noon?" The headlines were everywhere. Asterisk, asterisk, Chris Hemsworth ejected from The View in on-air clash. Asterisk, 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 masculinity debate sparks chaos on daytime TV. ABC cuts live segment after Hemsworth walks off. But it wasn't just the press that exploded, it was the public. Within hours, Twitter no X was a battlefield. Fans were outraged. Critics were thrilled. Memes, think pieces, hashtags, let Chris speak. Thor Vestaview, masculinity matters, toxic Thor. One tweet read: Chris Hemsworth got kicked out of The View for saying boys should be raised to be men. We've lost the plot. Another countered rich white men crying about being silenced on national TV. Hilarious. The battle lines had been drawn, not just between a celebrity and a talk show but between two visions of the culture, and as the storm raged online, both sides began issuing statements. ABC's rep was first, polished, sanitized, greater than. Today's segment with Mr. Hemsworth was cut short due to scheduling constraints. We thank him for joining us and regret the confusion. Chris's team responded less diplomatically. Greater than Chris appeared on The View in good faith. He did not expect to be ambushed or politicized. His goal was to promote his film, not defend his identity, but the damage was done. What should have been a charming press appearance had become a national flashpoint. Chris Hemsworth, a clean-cut, universally beloved Australian superstar, was now the face of something far messier. He wasn't kicked off the show, he was cast out of the conversation, and in a world where celebrity image is everything, being ejected doesn't just mean you lost your seat, it means, maybe, you said something people weren't ready to hear, or worse, something they've been waiting to punish. The studio cooled, but the fire kept spreading. By the next morning, the incident had left the bubble of TV gossip and burst into global conversation. What happened on The View was no longer a celebrity story, it had become a symbol, a mirror, a war zone of public opinion. Entertainment news ran wild. CNN, TMZ, Fox News, even BBC, each framed the moment through a different lens. Some called Hemsworth brave, others reckless. Some said he was silenced, others said he was finally held accountable. But one thing was clear, everyone had picked a side. That afternoon, Chris Hemsworth's publicist issued a second, sharper statement. Chris stands by his comments. He believes in honest discussion, not curated outrage. While he respects the hosts of The View, he does not support manufactured conflict for ratings. The words were carefully chosen, but the meaning was sharp enough to cut through headlines. Chris wasn't walking it back, he was doubling down. ABC stayed silent. No apology, no clarification, just silence. Behind closed doors, The View's producers were scrambling. Internal emails leaked. Staffers described the segment as off-script, heated, and a disaster for PR. Some claimed the topic wasn't cleared with him. Team. Others argued he crossed a line first. The show's next episode opened with tension in the air. Whoopi made a vague comment. Sometimes things don't go the way you plan. That's the risk of live television. You roll with it. Joy Behar, more direct, added, we ask questions. If someone doesn't like the heat, they don't have to come to the kitchen. But that wasn't the end of it. Fans flooded the comment sections, demanding an apology. Others accused Chris of weaponizing his fame to push coded ideology. One viral clip showed a TikToker breaking down the segment second by second. This wasn't just about gender roles, she said. This was about what happens when a powerful man refuses to let women define the conversation. But others weren't convinced. Greater than if The View can't handle an opinion without turning it into a dogpile. One YouTube creator posted, then maybe it's not a discussion, it's a trap. Suddenly, Chris Hemsworth wasn't just an actor anymore. He was a litmus test, a symbol of everything wrong or right with the cultural divide. And through it all, Chris stayed quiet. No interviews, no follow-ups, just a single silent image, posted to his Instagram, a photo of the ocean captioned only with a wave emoji. Interpretations exploded. Was he washing his hands of the moment? Was he signaling calm? Or was he just done? But in Hollywood, silence speaks. And that silence had now become louder than anything said on air. Because when the cameras stopped rolling, the real show had only just begun. What really happened on The View? Strip away the noise, the headlines, the memes. At the center of the chaos was a single question, one that no one seemed willing to answer directly. Was Chris Hemsworth punished for having an opinion, or for having the wrong one? Because this wasn't just about masculinity, or a morning talk show. It was about the ever-shrinking space for disagreement in public life. When did disagreement become danger? When did conversation become combat? In a world where platforms reward outrage, and nuance is buried under speed, it's no longer enough to simply appear. You must align, fully, publicly, or face the consequences. Chris didn't shout, he didn't insult, but he also didn't retreat. And in today's climate, that's often enough to set fire to the room. I wasn't trying to prove a point. He once said in a 2019 interview, I just think people should be able to speak without being shredded for it. But today's culture doesn't wait to shred. It's a machine. And every comment is content. The View didn't eject Hemsworth because he was dangerous. They ejected him because he disrupted the choreography. He didn't follow the script. He didn't play along. Maybe he didn't know the rules. Or maybe he rejected them on purpose. That's what makes the moment so divisive, because it wasn't just a celebrity saying something controversial. It was a celebrity refusing to say nothing, and that scares people, because deep down, everyone watching saw something familiar. The moment someone speaks out, and is immediately told to sit down, the backlash wasn't really about his words. It was about his audacity to speak them without fear. For some, that's privilege. For others, that's courage. But for everyone, it's a reminder that we're living in a time where fame doesn't protect you, where likability isn't armor, where even the most bankable stars can be recast as villains in the blink of a trending topic. And that's what made the ejection so potent, so viral, so magnetic. Not because it was shocking, but because it felt inevitable. The View will move on. Another guest, another soundbite, another sparked up Chris Hemsworth will return to screens, maybe quieter, maybe unchanged. Time will tell. But that moment, the silence before security moved, the sting in his voice, the audience holding its breath, that moment exposed something raw, something real. Not about him, about us. In the days that followed, the noise began to fade, the hashtags slowed, the hot takes cooled, but the silence lingered. Chris Hemsworth remained off camera. No interviews, no red carpets, no late-night appearances, just distance. Intentional or not, it was deafening. Then, almost a week later, he broke it, not with a press release, not with a tweet. But with a video. Simple, black and white, just him, no stylist, no team, no polish. I've had time to reflect, he said, looking straight into the camera, and I still stand by what I said. I believe in honest conversations, I believe in listening, and I believe in the right to speak without being pushed out of the room. He didn't name The View, he didn't mention the hosts, but the message was unmistakable, and the response was seismic. Thousands of comments flooded in, many supportive, some brutal. You didn't deserve that treatment. Thanks for speaking up. You still don't get it. But beneath the chaos, a quieter truth emerged. The moment had changed something, not just for Hemsworth, but for how celebrity is now entangled with politics, performance, and public pressure. And what about The View? The show never aired a correction, no retraction, no direct response. But just 2 episodes later, a guest cancelled last-minute creative differences. The official reason. Unofficially, fear producers, sources say, began re-evaluating how spontaneous their debates really were. Because now, everyone knew once that table turns on you, there's no turning it back. So where does that leave Chris? He didn't lose a career. He didn't issue an apology tour, but he gained something else. Edges. In a business built on polish, he showed something raw, something defiant. He didn't exit as Thor, he exited as Chris. Flawed, challenged, Hillman. And maybe, just maybe, that's what made the moment matter most. Because in a world where stars are shaped by handlers and headlines, he broke the script. And, for once, we saw the real person underneath. What do you think? Was Chris Hemsworth standing up for honest conversation, or stepping into something he didn't fully understand? Was The View right to cut him off, or did they cross a line? This moment has divided fans, critics, and even fellow celebrities. Now, we want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Whose side are you on? What does this say about where we are right now as a culture?